Hi, so back with another shoe review. This time it's my favourite Under Armour shoe, the Fade 2 SL. SL stands for super lightweight, I think. I think it does stand for super lightweight because they are incredibly lightweight. In fact, I've forgotten my scales. So this is coming in at 326 grams and that's a size 9. So obviously if you had a baby size it would be smaller, but 326 grams is the lightest shoe that I've ever had in here. And that includes FootJoy Superlights XP and all the rest of it. So they are extremely light. I've been wearing these shoes in the shop as my sort of everyday pair of shoes. So I do a bit of teaching, I do a lot of walking around in the shop, smashing my feet into the edges of stands, smashing my feet into the edge of the doorways, tripping up on the edge of the door going out, that sort of thing. And so they do get a lot of punishment and they are on all day long. And I do and have done over the years suffer from quite hot feet feeling. And these are a synthetic upper which is supposedly breathable and waterproof. And I have to say that after a full day wearing them in the shop, I'm pleased to get them off, don't get me wrong. I mean, you'd rather have your feet out than stuck in a pair of shoes non-stop, but they do not feel really hot, my feet. And that's after a full day in the shop, which generally takes longer than a round of golf, although sometimes that's touch and go these days. The things I like about this shoe are the price, because it comes in at about £80 roughly that you can get them, and the cushioning that you get in the feeling in the heel, because it has hover, it has Under Armour's hover cushioning system in the heel. Not in the forefoot, the more expensive models have it in the forefoot as well, but in the heel area it does have it, and it is very comfortable feeling. It has a very nice, soft, spongy feel, which supposedly the energy's been returned to your foot to give you faster walking speeds, I'm guessing. But what it just feels to me is a shoe that has a lot of good cushioning in the heel. I don't notice it missing from the forefoot either, and I have worn Under Armour shoes up the range, like the Hover Drive and other ones, where they're supposedly got a cushion all the way through, the hover system all the way through, and I don't actually notice it. And it's another reason why I think this thing is the best buy in terms of shoes in the Under Armour range. I also think it looks the best. I mean, shoes are a funny thing. I say I like a pair of shoes and think they're really nice, and so the next person thinks they're horrible, and the ones that I think are horrible they really like. So it is a very personal thing. To me, they have they're one of the sleeker designs of the Under Armour shoes. So this view here is thinner. I think some of them look a bit big and a bit wide, which is fine for certain people and certain shapes and all the rest of it. It's absolutely fine, but just from a personal point of view, I think it's the best looking shoe in the Under Armour range. And it looks like it should cost a lot more than it does. And for it to be the price it is and offer the level of comfort and style that it does, that is the reason I think it's the best by a mile. It is waterproof as well. I've worn it to play golf. Although that is a rarity, a Club Pro play golf, it does occasionally happen. And I have been out on a golf course, a real live golf course with wet conditions, raining, didn't just walk off, kept playing, and also going into rough repeatedly, wet rough often, because when you're not playing that much you don't tend to hit the fairway that often. I have tested them in thick wet rough and they haven't leaked. I've never felt like I'm getting water in. And bear in mind though, when you talk about waterproof, if you go out and it's absolutely chucking it down and you're traipsing about the rough, don't come back in saying, oh, both my feet are soaking, because water gets in, funnily enough, through this area here, this hole in the shoe. There's a wee bit of a sort of design flaw there that, in terms of waterproofing, that there's a hole and water might be able to go down the side of your trouser or sock and seep in here. And if you're out for 5 hours, 4.5, 5 hours in pouring down rain, then yes, you may get a little bit of water leaking through soaking into your socks, seeping down and making it feel like the shoes have actually leaked. So you have to be careful about just assuming that a pair of shoes is leaking. Usually what you'll notice if a pair of shoes is leaking is that one of them gets wet and the other one doesn't. That's more of an alarm bell situation than going out on a pouring wet rainy day and coming back saying that both the feet. That's like jumping in a swimming pool and saying these shoes are not waterproof. No, you wouldn't do that. Well, hopefully you wouldn't do that. So just to recap on shoes it's up against, and one of the reasons I think it's the best shoe in the range is to quickly talk about these shoes that I stock. And I don't want to rubbish these because they are good in their own right. They keep changing the name on this, but it's basically the Charge Draw is roughly what it's called. And it has spikes on the bottom and has a bit more of a workman-like feel to it. It's a synthetic again, but it kind of feels harder than the material that they use on this. It's a little bit harder and shinier. Good on sort of muddier courses, I would have said. None of them require any looking after, to be honest, because it's a synthetic material and all you do is just wash it down or scrub it with something, and they're pretty hardy when it comes to that. This doesn't have any of the hover in the sole, so you haven't got the cushioning, and you can feel it. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is still pretty soft feeling. I mean, it's got a proper nice insole in there. Does have some measure of give in the sole. It's not rock hard. So you do notice it over the Fade, and it's a little bit cheaper, but it's not that much cheaper. I kind of feel like for the slight jump up in price, you get a softer feeling upper and you get more cushioning. So for me, there's no contest really when it comes to the Fade over the Charge Draw. This one is called the Hoverdrive 2. And again, spiked, so it's good if it's very wet and you've got lots of slopes you're dealing with. It has a slightly softer again feel upper, so that's creating more of a leather-like look and feel, although it is still synthetic, and it has the hover right the way through the sole. So in theory it should feel softer in the forefoot. I've tried it on it and I don't notice it feeling any softer in the forefoot. Again, that's why this scores, because this is about 119 quid or something like that. It's a bit more expensive, and it's a certain look, you know, it's a different, more utilitarian look than the Fade. That's sleeker, more what I would want from a golf shoe, but this might be just right up your street, this sort of look. I can't argue with that, each to his own. But it's a little bit higher spec. This back heel thing looks angrier than it is. It actually, when you put that on, it's really well cushioned, and okay, it looks really high up and like it might dig into your sort of Achilles there, but it doesn't. Well, it might on some people, but it doesn't on mine. It just feels nice and snug round the foot area. So there's no problem. There's a lot of cushioning on the Fade as well in the back, so it doesn't really mark the Fade down there. So that's a good shoe as well, but I still think by far and away, if you're getting Under Armour, and unless you're in the sort of Spieth category of shoe, which is about 150 quid, and you like that look and you want all the technology Under Armour can throw at you, then this is a shoe you should look at, and don't discount it just because it isn't top of the range. You know, I used to always just get the top of the range shoe no matter what it was, because I was in this business and it doesn't cost you as much or whatever. So, but this actually, I liked the look of this, tried it on, I thought, give it a go, and I haven't felt that it's a compromise at all. Even the spike unit as well, playing in that, absolutely fine. Playing in it in wet, absolutely fine. Doesn't clog up, doesn't slip. I haven't noticed it slipping. And there's so much to recommend about these that, as I say, if you haven't tried them, give them a go, and don't discount them just based on price. And finally, I just wanted to say, I know it's getting near the end of the year for these. It's 2022, we're going into 2023. The Fade is continuing next year unchanged, and apart from they're bringing in another colour in white, where it'll have black, I think it's black with little line bits on the side. So really nice combination as well. So if somebody wanted a white, if you're like me and you want a white shoe but you wear black and grey, then that wouldn't have been acceptable because that's got navy and blue in it, and that kind of clashes with the colour combinations you're trying to put together. So you needed really a white one with a black detailing to be able to pull that look off sufficiently well. And there's a, as I said, there's a black, there's also a grey, and there's that one again. So that to me shows again how successful this shoe is, and how you should give it a look if you haven't already, because it's been so successful. They've just continued it on as it is. They haven't changed anything. That'll do. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of an update on where I am with my views on Under Armour shoes. I still think they're one of the best shoe companies out there now. They're making inroads into the market, and if you haven't tried them, have a look at them, try them on and give them a go. You will not be disappointed. Okay, thanks for watching, and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.